This past week, the Wall Street Journal released an article indicating that Google is in talks with Chinese government officials and smartphone makers about launching a new Android app store that would come installed on new smartphones made for the Chinese market. Google is well known for its mission to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. Committed to their mission and their motto to do no evil, Google abruptly ceased most operations in mainland China in 2010 when user protection and privacy became an issue. The withdrawal from the Chinese market followed cyber attacks against Gmail users and disagreements with the government over censorship of search results. At the time, there was some debate about whether Google could exert more influence by staying in China, but ultimately they stopped most operations there. Google co-founder Sergey Brin was among the most outspoken Chinese government critics in 2010, but Mr. Brin recently stepped back from day-to-day operations, and Sundar Pichai took on more responsibility ahead of becoming Google's CEO later this year. Mr. Pichai is committed to serving the Chinese market. Since 2010, China has become the world's largest smartphone market, and Google rival Apple is the leading player there. A move back into the Chinese market would mark Google's return to the world's second largest economy. For more than a year, Google has been working on a version of its Play App Store that includes only apps and services approved by the Chinese government. This app store would come installed on new smartphones made for the Chinese market that run on Google's licensed version of Android. Google hopes the new phones will be available by the end of the year, though it isn't clear if the company will hit that target. Google needs licenses from the Chinese government, and it isn't yet known whether those have been approved. Getting a version of the Play Store on Google-approved phones in China would help the company better control the operating system and generate revenue from apps. Some phone makers are eager to sell devices in China that run on Google-licensed software. China's Huawei Technologies will soon launch a new Android phone under Google's Nexus brand in the United States. This raises some expectations that Huawei may also make a phone compatible with a new Google Play Store for China. Carlos Kirchner stated that he would be surprised if Google bent a knee to China and agreed to government censorship, suggesting that Google is hoping primarily to prevent, delay, or limit alternative versions of Android in China. Kirchner also suggested that this would be an uphill battle, with multiple competing companies already in place in China. Qihoo 360, Baidu, and Tencent Holdings are a few of the companies that already have app stores and services that attach to mobile devices in China. Long term, Google hopes to resume search and Gmail services in China. However, this is a much more sensitive issue because it would likely require storing user data in China and giving the Chinese government a way to monitor that information, something that Google has historically taken great pains to avoid. Storing such user data and giving the Chinese government monitoring access to information would represent a major about-face by Google on issues related to censorship and data privacy. This kind of turnaround in practices is not a part of Google's current plan. Once a Google Play Store and official Android phones are in China, Google will push for more of its services to be unblocked. China is a major market that only a company with the scope and scale of Google could abandon and remain successful. However, today it seems that Google sees this as the time to reconsider operations there. Only time will tell what the future for Google will be in China and what message Google will send if and or when it re-enters that market. In 2010, some asked if Google might have a greater influence if it remained in China. If they re-enter that market, perhaps that question will be answered.